The Mariners' bats were once again ice cold yesterday, but Logan Gilbert unveiled a new pitch. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, boat people. I'm Colby Patnode. Welcome to Locked On Mariners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, head to FanDuel.com to get started. So, in what has become a very familiar scene to Mariners fans, especially over the last week or so, the Mariners got tremendous starting pitching and no offense for which to speak of. As they dropped game one of a 3-game series against the Rangers by a score of 2-1, we are going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about whether or not it's time to panic. No. But first, we're going to talk about Logan Gilbert, who did something yesterday that he hasn't done a lot of in recent years. He went 6 innings. He got through 6 and in pretty good shape. He goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts, 9 hard hit balls. So, hard hit balls, that's kind of a lot, but 5 strikeouts, not that many for Logan. He didn't get his first strikeout, I believe, until the third time through the third inning, if I'm not mistaken, there. But the interesting thing from Logan in this outing is that he kind of unveiled a new pitch. He debuted a new pitch, or reintroduced an old pitch, might be a better way to word that. He threw changeups yesterday, true changeups, not splitters. Now, he only threw 3 out of 96 pitches, and he didn't throw his first changeup until the 5th inning. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm not sure if this is just something that he was doing yesterday, if it's a tweaked in-game tweak they wanted to make, or if it was something that they were planning on doing all along. Tough to say, but it was a unique pitch from the splitter. After the game, I looked at the StatCast data and saw the changeup. Sometimes the changeup gets miscategorized as a splitter and the other way around. But when you actually dig into the numbers here, the changeup had a spin rate twice as high as the splitter, and it was 4 miles an hour faster than the splitter. It also obviously didn't have nearly as much break as the splitter. So very interesting. It did have a lot of horizontal break, though, much more than the splitter. So it kind of moved side to side more than the splitter, which more just dropped straight down. So it is a unique pitch that I was pretty intrigued by. I think this could be a potential game changer for Logan. Again, he'll have to throw it more before we can say it's a new pitch that he's adding versus, just something he threw yesterday a couple times. But it is very interesting. Averages 83.6 miles an hour yesterday. Again, he only threw 3. So interesting. Nonetheless, two of them against lefties and 1 against righty. He did get a whiff on one of the 2 swings he got. All 3 changeups were strikes. So this is another pitch like the cutter where he's going to try and steal a strike with it. Maybe. We'll see. But as it usually goes with Logan, he was a real kitchen sink guy yesterday. 23 sliders, 22 four-seamers, 20 splitters, 18 curveballs, 10 cutters, and 3 changeups is the pitch mix there. Didn't have tremendous whiff rate on the slider, only 20%, 23% on the four-seamer. Did have a 30% whiff rate on the split, but a 33% whiff rate on the curveball, 25% on the cutter, and 50% on the changeup, 27% whiff overall, 30% called strike plus whiff. Not terrible. The splitter really did show up for him big time in the 4th and the 5th inning, and it was a really nice pitch, as it often is. Unfortunately, as we've talked about in the past, Logan relied a little too much on the splitter. In the 6th inning, he had a runner on first with 2 outs, Jake Berger at the plate, and he got ahead 0-2. Then he threw 3 splitters in a row, one of which was so bad that Cal Raleigh couldn't corral it. The runner was able to advance to second, and on a 3-2 pitch, after throwing 3 consecutive splitters and now with first base open, he tried to flip a curveball down the middle of the plate past Berger, and Berger hit a line drive over the head of Randy, and that was the ball game. Runner scores. Now he might have scored anyways if he had been on first, but he might not have, and it ended up being the difference of the ball game. So Logan, again, just a little too reliant on that splitter. He continues to chase strikeouts instead of chase outs at certain points, and that's what the splitter is there for. That's his swing and miss pitch, and he continued to go back to it, even though he didn't really have it in that at bat. So just kind of again, an over reliance on that pitch. I wonder if maybe this is where the changeup could come into play. You go splitter, you go changeup. They both have lower spin rates than all of his other pitches, but one's a little bit firmer and it moves a little more side to side versus straight down. So I do think the changeup and the splitter have a chance to play off of one each other. But again, we'll have to see how comfortable Logan is throwing it. He only threw 3 in this outing. So Logan continued to use the cutter, which looks okay to me. I think it's a pretty decent pitch. So I'm interested to see the continued usage of it, but he doesn't quite have the command of it quite yet. In the first inning, the run he gave up was on a cutter that just sat in the middle of the plate, and Corey Seager, RBI single. So cutter's a little hit or miss, but I do think that there's some promise to it as well. So we'll see how that develops throughout the year. Did have a 50% called strike plus whiff on that pitch. So it is something to look for. I continue to believe that Logan would be better served going with the curveball as his primary breaking ball rather than the slider. The slider, I just don't think is very good. 20% whiff rate on it, only a 26% called strike plus whiff. It's not that good. It really doesn't break down much. It really doesn't move that much horizontally either. It's kind of a flat slider. And it's not great, So he had 9 hard hit balls yesterday. 4 of them came against the slider. I don't think it's a good pitch. I think it's his worst pitch, and it's the pitch he kind of goes to over and over again. It's not all that unusual to see him throw more sliders than he does fastballs. And by the way, the 4-seam fastball, not that good of a pitch either. So he's really relying on splitter, curveball, and right now splitter is really the only pitch he has, and that's why he has these long at bats. That's why he can get ahead 0-2, and then the only pitch he feels good about going to is the splitter, and because the slider's not very good, and the 4-seamer doesn't get a ton of whiffs. So the cutter, the changeup, introducing more curveballs, I think would be the solution to getting Logan deeper into these ball games. But who's to say? It's a little bit of a guesswork here. Logan and Cal are going to have to work through it, but all in all, I thought Logan had his best start of the year by far, and it was much closer to vintage Logan Gilbert than we've seen in recent years. He had an 8-hitter stretch there in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, where he was as good as we've ever seen him. I mean, the splitter was dancing. He was getting strikes on the fastball. Dropped a couple nice curveballs in there. The cutter had some real movement to it. So what we want from Logan Gilbert, like ace Logan Gilbert, it's there. We saw it in bits and pieces throughout his first 2 starts. Yesterday, we saw it pretty much sustain for 3 or 4 innings. The changeup is going to be an interesting pitch to track now. I'm going to be watching for that pitch in his next outing against Houston, I believe on Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to Logan pitching next and see what he does, see what the encore is. But I think this was a positive step in the right direction for Logan. Unfortunately for Logan, the offense just didn't show up. So we're going to talk about that next. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel.
The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
Baseball is finally back, and to celebrate, I'm giving you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com and use the code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use the code FINALLY to claim your free month. It was a rough night for the Mariners offense. They had 2 hits. That's it, just 2 hits. An expected batting average of 192 on the night, and they only had 6 hard hit balls all game. They only drew 2 walks. If you're looking for a positive, they only struck out 7 times. But I think the real positive from the offense last night was clearly Cal Raleigh, who hit his first home run of the year on the 12th pitch of his first at-bat, an absolute missile out to right field, 418 feet. I believe it was, 107.8 off the bat against Jacob deGrom, who was very good last night, and the Mariners struggled to generate much traffic off of him. But Cal Raleigh had a couple of very good at-bats. 1 for 3, obviously the home run, the solo home run. Also drew a walk, also had an additional hard hit ball in the 9th inning. I thought this was Cal's best game of the year, bar none. And I think we're starting to see just a little bit of his timing getting back on track. He's seen a lot of pitches in his last few games, which is good. He's getting better at recognizing spin and all that. So it does feel like he's starting to figure things out. Again, he's got to do it for more than a game before we start to really buy in that, like, okay, Cal's got this figured out. But very nice to see from him. 2 hard hit balls, a walk, and a home run. You'll take that every game from Cal, and you'll be pretty darn happy with that. Unfortunately, he didn't get much help. The only other hit the Mariners got all night came from Randy Arozarena, who also had 2 hard hit balls. He goes 1 for 3. But other than that, there's just no traffic, none. Brendan Donovan did return to the lineup, so that's good to see. Missed 2 games with his groin injury. Unfortunately, he has probably his worst game of the year. He goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Julio goes 0 for 3. No hard hit balls there either. Josh Naylor goes 0 for 4. 1 hard hit ball, the game-ending double play was struck well, but not a good night for Josh Naylor. Randy goes 1 for 3, couple hard hit balls. He had a good night. Luke Raley only got 1 official at bat. He did walk in his 1 plate appearance. He also hit the ball hard in his 1 at bat. So kind of a weird night for Luke, but overall solid. He got pinch hit for Rob Refsnyder against a lefty, and Rob Refsnyder is now 0 for 13, I believe, against left-handed pitching. That's the only thing you do, Rob. The only thing you do is hit lefties. If you can't do that, you're pretty worthless. So again, it's only 13 at bats. No reason to panic yet, but it's time to figure it out. Because again, you have 1 job on this team. Dominic Canzone went 0 for 2 with a strikeout as well. There was a weird pinch hitting situation. We'll talk about that here in a second. Cole Young 0 for 3 and Leo Rivas also 0 for 3. So again, just no traffic whatsoever. Cal hits the solo home run in the first, and then the Mariners would have just 3 more base runners the entire game. Ooh, not good. Not good at all. So again, it is what it is in this case, but the Mariners offense is really struggling right now. There was a weird pinch hitting situation that I want to talk about a little bit, just because it speaks to Dan Wilson and his, let's call it, unique in-game management decisions. So we get to the 6th inning, I believe this was. Might have been the 7th. Either way, Randy Arozarena singles. He's on first base, 1 out. Luke Raley come to the plate to go up against, I believe, Tyler Alexander at that time. So, left on left. The Mariners don't want Luke Raley to hit left on left. Okay, fine. They go to Rob Refsnyder, which is an interesting choice because Refsnyder is now the right fielder. But in theory, you could just put Robles out there after Refsnyder hits, and that should work. And I guess the idea here is like, we want to make sure Rob Refsnyder gets an at-bat off of Alexander. And if we don't put him here in the 6th spot, whoever we do put, Garver, Robles, or whatever, they get into a double play, and then we lose that matchup advantage. So let's go Refsnyder here. So I think I understand from that perspective. But then, Ref Snyder strikes out and Dom Canzone's due up. And Dan has a decision to make. Either you go to either you stick with Canzone against a okay lefty and Tyler Alexander, or you pinch hit. And so he chooses to pinch hit Victor Robles for his DH. So naturally, Schumacher goes to the righty to counter, and then Dan takes Robles out of the game, burns him without getting anything out of him, and goes to JP Crawford to be the DH. And Crawford flew out to center field, end of the inning. Because he used Robles instead of letting Canzone hit against lefties, which, by the way, he had like a 113 WRC plus against lefties last year. Canzone doesn't have to come out every single time there's a lefty on the mound, especially for Victor Robles, who doesn't really hit anybody. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And then you burn Robles by going to JP Crawford. The idea that was being floated on the broadcast was that, like, oh well, they wanted Shoemaker to make the change to the righty so that they can then go to JP Crawford. They wanted the decoy. That doesn't make any sense either. JP Crawford is a guy who's barely gotten any at bats this year, as we know. He missed most of spring training. He wasn't in the starting lineup today because they're trying to slow play him a little bit. So your big galaxy brain move is to take one of your best power hitters, trailing by 1 run with the runner on first base, a chance to take the lead if Canzone goes deep, which he's certainly more likely to do than Victor Robles or JP Crawford. Your big galaxy brain idea is to burn your best defensive outfielder on the bench, your best pinch running option on the bench, to just get him out of your game while also taking away one of the bigger power threats in your lineup, to get your opponent to go to a righty to face, JP Crawford, who's essentially in the second or third week of spring training right now. I don't get it. You also, by the way, burn JP Crawford, which means Cole Young and Leo Rivas have to take an at-bat, and you were going to give Cole Young an at-bat anyways, but Leo Rivas? Really? You want Rivas to be the one to get an at-bat, not Canzone? It doesn't make sense to me. Dan has overmanaged situations in the past, and he did it here. Canzone doesn't have to come out against lefties, particularly Tyler Alexander. Like, Josh Hader's coming into the game, fine, whatever. It's Tyler Alexander. There's nothing about Alexander that makes me think Canzone cannot hit him. There's nothing about Alexander, or Robles for that matter, that makes me think that Robles is a better option there than Canzone. And if the whole idea is to deke the opposing manager, into going to a righty so you can actually burn your righty and go to a lefty, I don't get the point, because now all you're doing is guaranteeing that Leo Rivas has to have an at-bat. Leo's struggling right now. I would much rather save JP Crawford in this situation, have him hit for Leo the following inning, keep Robles on the bench, have Canzone hit against a lefty, and then if I need a pinch runner or whatever, I have Robles. If I get back around to Cole Young or Canzone again, I have Robles on the bench, or I have Robles to go play right field for Rob Refsnyder in a 1-run game where defense still matters. The whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm a little confused by Dan's management there. He also used Cooper Criswell in a 1-run game in the 8th inning, which almost was a disaster. Criswell was able to dance out of some trouble. He did walk 2 guys and give up a hit, but he didn't give up a run. Now, I'm not going to get on Dan for that one, because I feel like that was more about the bullpen's in rough shape right now. Obviously, they had to cover a lot of innings because Luis wasn't very good on Sunday. I think the only leverage arm left that hadn't pitched the day before was Bizzardo. And my hunch is that they wanted to save Bizzardo in case, they went to the bottom of the 9th or extras. We don't know the status of Andres Munoz. He had that little scare in Anaheim on Sunday, where he called out the trainer, stayed in the game, looked good. So kind of tough to know if that was just back issues, which we've seen before, if he got lightheaded, which we've seen before. So again, we'll see. I don't know for sure how the bullpen was set up last night, but I'm not going to give him too much credit or too much grief for that. I do think that's mostly about like, hey, we're down by one, we're not swinging it well at all right now, and Brash and Munoz, Inspire, they all got used yesterday. I'm not going to give him too much grief for that. By the way, Jose Ferrer pitched in this one. He looked great. Had 2 strikeouts, which is what we've talked about needing to see from Ferrer to feel good about him as a high leverage late inning reliever, a true legit one. We need to see more swing and miss, because on Sunday we saw kind of the quote downside of Ferrer in that if he doesn't miss bats, he's going to give up contact. And when you give up contact, the odds of the other team scoring goes way up. And Ferrer wasn't even bad on Sunday. I don't think he surrendered a hard hit ball for a hit, but just, a lot of bloop doubles and infield singles and all that. Like, that's what happens when you don't miss bats. And that's why high leverage relievers who miss bats are really valuable. Well, yesterday he had 2 strikeouts. He looked really, really good. So all in all, Dan's performance yesterday, just a little puzzling with that whole fake out or the whole, JP Victor Canzone thing. I think it just stems from just let Canzone hit against lefties. Not every single time, but Canzone is better against lefties than Robles. So just let him hit. Let him hit against lefties. And also, you kind of are in a spot you're not going to string hits together. You kind of have to go to the guy who's going to hit a home run, more likely to hit a home run, because that's kind of the only way you're scoring right now. So whatever, just kind of weird. Again, there are bigger fish to fry with this Mariners offense. So we're not going to spend too much time criticizing Dan today. But yeah, the offense in a rough spot. And honestly, Dan didn't help a ton, but I really don't think that yesterday is really about Dan. Dan's management at all. I just thought it was weird, and so I wanted to address it. But overall, the Mariners have to score more runs. It is as simple as that. So am I worried? Is it time to push the panic button? Do drastic changes need to be made? I'll tell you guys next, but first, a word from our friends over at Ethos.
This is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and I've reached the point in my life where my wife and I are looking toward the future. We've got the house, we've got the career, we even have an awesome dog, but now we need to secure that future. That's where Ethos comes in for us. When I look at this insurance or that insurance and I try to pick one, I might as well be reading an entirely different language. Ethos clears up the noise and gets me set up with exactly what I need, because Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, and it's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/lockedonmlb. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get a free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb, ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times and rates may vary.
All right, so big question going around Mariners social media, Mariners fandom right now is how worried should we be? The Mariners are 4-7. They've lost 3 in a row. They haven't really had a good offensive game, barring the Sunday game, the one yesterday, which was pretty good, but not as good as it could have been. They really haven't had a great offensive game since Sunday against Cleveland on that opening weekend. So what's going on here? Should we be concerned? My answer to that is no. I'm not going to be concerned. If you guys want to be concerned, go ahead. Obviously I can't stop you. You guys are going to fan the way you're going to fan. To me, I think that the biggest issue with being concerned, with being nervous about this club right now, the biggest thing that stops me from doing that is for me to believe that the Mariners offense is this bad. I have to believe that Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, and Josh Naylor are three of the worst players in baseball. I don't believe that. I don't think you guys believe that. I don't even think the people who are panicking believe that, which is why I'm not going to panic because I don't think those three guys are bad. In fact, I think all three of those guys are going to be all-stars or fringe all-stars. So the fact that they're all struggling right now and the team is still 4-7, actually, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised. They could easily be 7-4 if those three guys, or even two of those three guys, were just playing at their 50th percentile right now. The Mariners would probably be 6-5, 7-4, and if all three of those guys were playing well right now, they'd probably be 8-3 at least. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to have some faith, and I know that asking Mariner fans to have faith in the Mariners is a tall order. The skepticism is well earned. I understand that, but I think when you're asking for faith for individual players who have been there and done that before, giving them more grace period than 11 games is a wise decision. So to me, I'm not worried because right now the biggest problem with the Mariners are those three guys, and those three guys are not this bad. They're just not. It's not going to happen that way. And some of the things that I was, a little bit concerned about before the season started, have actually been fine. The starting rotation and the depth, like what happens when you lose Bryce Miller? Can they withstand this? Yeah. Emerson Hancock looks great. The rotation's been pretty good. There's been the one blow up start by Luis, which was really just the pitch count getting away from him more so than a blow up start. But so we've seen a lot of 6-inning starts, 7-inning starts early in the season. Hancock has stepped up and pitched very well. So now I feel even better about the rotation depth. Sloan and Anderson are going to be, getting closer and closer to the big leagues as we speak. So I feel fine about the rotation depth. The bullpen, I don't have really any complaints about the bullpen. The 1 through 5, they've each had their own little hiccups so far, but for the most part, they've all looked really good. Munoz has looked really good. Brash, Spire, even Ferrer. I think Ferrer's been really good, despite what the layman numbers would tell you. I think he's been rock solid. And the depth of the bullpen, they already sustained an injury to one of the guys that you were kind of counting on, the Carlos Vargas, who, while he's not an elite reliever or anything like that, you kind of felt like you had a good idea of what you were going to get out of him. He went on the IL before, the first pitch was thrown, and the Mariners already had to dip into the pile, which was terrifying in spring training. And Cole Wilcox looks like a dude, looks like a legitimate dude. He's been fantastic. As, by the way, I mean, not fantastic, but effective is Casey Legumina and Cooper Criswell. So the bullpen, I think, has been a plus. I think I'm pretty happy with what I've seen from the bullpen. I have fewer concerns about them now than I did, 10 days ago, because I think Legumina and Criswell are doing exactly what they need to do, and they've been fine. Wilcox looks like he might be a find. We'll see. It's only been a couple innings, but he looks very good. And again, Ferrer, Spire, Bizardo, Brash, Munoz, I think we've seen them all look dominant for stretches so far this year. And yeah, again, they each had one little hiccup. That's going to happen, especially early in the year. So I'm not concerned about the rotation depth. There's another injury. We'll talk. But right now, I'm not concerned about rotation depth. The bullpen, I'm actually pleasantly surprised by. I'm much more confident in them than I was, 10 days ago, 12 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And the players, the support players have been good. Is Donovan going to be able to hit at T-Mobile Park? So far, yes, not a problem. Is Cole Young going to take a step forward? Yes. Are we going to see 2024 Luke Raley or 2025 Luke Raley? So far, significantly closer to 25 Luke Raley than 24 than 25. Flip those. Is Canzone going to repeat what he did last year? I mean, no, I never thought he was, but he looks fine. He doesn't look overmatched for the most part right now. So, I mean, can they withstand injuries to these players, these 2-3 win support players, the JP Crawfords, the Randys, the Luises? Yeah, I mean, they've been fine without JP. He'll certainly help, but Leo did enough to kind of keep you floating. And you always have Emerson later in the year. So Randy's been really good. Luis, one great start, one bad start. George has been rock solid. Brian Wu has been incredible. So, yeah, for all the minor things that I had concerns about with this roster, they've actually been the best parts of this team so far, with the exception of infield defense. That's the one thing I was a little iffy about, and it's been pretty iffy. But hey, Cole Young right now is the Gold Glove second baseman. I haven't checked today, but at last time I checked yesterday, he was the leader in baseball in defensive run saves across all positions, all of baseball, not just second baseman. He made another nice play yesterday. JP Crawford, we know what he is. Brennan Donovan, I think he's showing better range. I think he's going to get there. He's had a couple of bad plays, but I think he's going to get there. I really am not that concerned about Donovan's defense. Leo Rivas, not a great third baseman, pretty good at short, though, pretty good at second. And you have Colt Emerson coming up the pipeline, so I don't really feel all that concerned about the infield defense. I think they'll figure it out. I'm not super concerned about it. I think it'll smooth itself out. So, no, at the end of the day, like I said, in order for me to feel worried about this club, to feel truly worried that maybe we were all wrong about this club, I have to believe, and you have to believe, that your three best hitters are actually three of the worst hitters in baseball. And I don't believe it. This is probably not the last 4-7 stretch the Mariners are going to go through this year. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. I'm right there with you guys. It is annoying and frustrating to watch these guys go up there and just have these horrible at-bats. Right there with you. Do you need to vent some of that frustration sometime? Sure, I do it. Sure, do what you got to do. But to be worried to move over to these guys are frauds, or, it's time to panic, it's time to fire people, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Just deep breath. They're going to be okay. If they're not, we don't know that on April 7th. That's just not the way baseball works. So, again, do you believe in Julio to be a 6-win player like he has been pretty much every year of his career? Do you believe in Cal Raleigh to be at least a 4.5, 5-win player like he has been basically every year of his career? Do you think Josh Naylor is this bad, or do you think he's going to end up hitting, 280 with 20 home runs and a good on-base percentage like he has done pretty much every year of his career, except for that one year where he hit 30 home runs and his batting average dipped to 250? Like, no, those guys are going to be good. We just don't know when they're going to be good. So the fact that those three guys are struggling and the Mariners are 4-7, not that surprising. But all the other little parts of this baseball team are working just fine. So once those three guys get going, we'll see what this team can do. But it's just really hard to watch as we wait for them to get there. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Mariners. Join us tomorrow when we'll break down the entire Rangers series after the final out is recorded. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Mariners so you get all the latest episodes. Follow us on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. Make sure you join our Patreon, patreon.com/controlthezone. Ty and I go in depth into the Mariners twice a week. We also talk Seahawks, Kraken, and pretty soon the Seattle Supersonics will join that discussion. We also have some fun, talk about random stuff, movies, food, all that good stuff. So check it out. But if you guys never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Mariners ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonmariners.supercast.com to join the club. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.